Hello everyone, welcome to the Average Student IS. Today is 7th Feb 2019 and I am going to start the discussion of the Hindu. So let's start with the first article. Here I will be covering the most important article of the Hindu and I will try to cover it in a most comprehensive way so that it could be more easier for you to understand. Okay, so let's start with the first article. First article is related to EVM, like electronic voting machine. So actually your background is that opposition party had demanded to count 50% of VVPAT slips. So you can relate this article with paper 2. So let's start with the article. Actually EVM has been in question mark by the opposition. Despite all this, there has been no evidence of EVM tampering as claimed by some parties. So definitely you all must be hearing that a lots of claim has been said that EVM has been tampered, but no evidence has been shown. Even though Election Commission has done a lot to bring transparency in the EVM by bringing VVPAT systems, which is a voter verifiable auditor trial. So definitely it is trying to bring more transparency in the electronic voting machine. Even after that, it has done one more check so that it could bring a more transparency, like counting a VVPAT of any single booth of particular constituency where vote has been taken place. So definitely Election Commission is doing much more to bring more transparency, but the opposition party has demanded to count the 50% of the VVPAT slip. This will be a too much because counting almost we are going to a paper ballot system, and this will be this can be also done with the scientifically and randomly chooses a sample booths is a reasonable enough to verification for the process. Definitely if they want, then they can choose any of the booth as they consider that is important and that might be tampered. So they can select any booth, not giving the argument that counting a 50% of a VVPAT slip only. Okay, so there has been some glitches and issues with the VVPAT which has been shown in the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar assembly election and in the Karnataka election, and this glitches resulted in the machine replacement rate by 20% and 4% respectively. But these all are glitches because in the machine we know that there were some glitches in every machine, like you operate your mobile, then definitely some problem persists there. So definitely there were some, and there have some issue regarding due to the extreme weather or a change in weather, because in the print area we have a spooling issue and that creates a problem due to change in the weather condition. Although Election Commission has replaced a hardware and introduced a new one to improve its functioning, and machine replacement rate due to the VVPAT failure come down to 1.8% for Chhattisgarh. So definitely it can be removed with a better deployment of an improved machine, and these technical glitches can be solved in our upcoming Lok Sabha elections. Okay, next article you can relate with paper 2, that this article is actually related to health sector, that we need to live in our health sector spending. So here issue is that India health spending on the health sector is quite low and it is urgently need to improve its spending. So data on the health spending has been given that government's goal is to increase the public health spending by 2.5% of the GDP, but the government is currently spending 1.15 to 1.5% of the GDP. Even if the government is trying to reach to 2.5% of the GDP, it can reach by increasing the funding of the health by 20 to 25% every year for next 5 years or more. While when we look at the interim budget, government does not adequately respond to the need of the health sector, and though no any improvement in the health sector in the budget allocations. If you look at the national health profile of 2018, our per capita expenditure on health has increased from 621 in 2009-10 to 1112 in 2015-16, and even the recent data which has been shown that in 2018 it has raised to 1500 per person. So per capita is increasing day by day. So this if you calculate this amount with a purchasing power parity, so here you must be confused about what is purchasing power parity. Purchasing power parity is actually the amount which is added with your, you can say, exchange rate. So definitely the purchasing power parity is equal in almost all the countries. So this amount is about 20% or about 100% when adjusted with the purchasing power parity. So this amount is in dollar, that our per capita in expenditure on health is 20 without purchasing power parity, $20 and $100 with the purchasing power parity. So let's compare with the other country. Actually in this article it has been compared with the US because we both are the largest democratic country in the world. That's why it has been compared with the US. So US spent $10,224 per capita on its health care as per the 2017 data, and US health expenditure is 18% of GDP, while India is under 1.5%. Definitely we are moving to reach 2.5%, but ultimately this budget doesn't show that we are going to achieve that target also. So US spent 3 to 23.5% of its budget on health sector, while the India allocation for the health sector is merely 2.2% of the budget. So we are extremely low, at the lowest position. The per capita spending of the health in the budget in India is 458. So just imagine that 61,398 crore has been allocated per 134 crore population. So if you adjust with the purchasing power parity, it is about just $30. So it's 100th of the US as we compared with the US. So if you look at the OECD's country, per capita their spending on health is 4,000 to 5,000 per dollar. So $4,000 to $5,000. So per capita budget expenditure on health in India is lowest in the world, and this required immediate attention. Steps taken by the government. So last year, as you know, the government has announced a scheme that is known as Ayushman Bharat scheme. Under this, government is going to set up 1.5 lakh health and wellness center. So this is a good, you can say this is a better steps to us improving our health sector. But the mandate here is given that preventive health screening and community based management of the basic health problem. So here it has been highlighted the mandate should include health education, definitely health education, and holistic wellness integration. Modern science and traditional Indian medicine should be given adequate measures in these schemes. Both communicable disease containment as well as non-communicable disease programs should be included, but all these are minimal steps. Major problem with our health sector: cancer screening and prevention are not covered. There is no resource allocation for preventing oncology, diabetes and hypertension. Oncology here is related to the cancer treatment. Even the prevention of a chronic kidney disease, which affect 15 to 17% of the population, is not appropriately addressed. Even if you look at the present data, there has been data shown that there has been rise in the spending on dialysis and transplant cost in the next decade, and will not be a sustainable unless we reduce the chronic kidney disease incidence and prevalence through screening and prevention. So we must have to address during the time of prevention, screening and the prevention. Due to lack of focus on preventive oncology in India, over 70% of the cancers are diagnosed in third and fourth stage. Consequently, the cure rate is quite low. Definitely at the third and fourth stage, their cure rate is quite low and death rate is high, and treatment of advanced cancer costs 3 to 4 times more than the treatment of the earlier cancer. Definitely. And even you look at our insurance policy, the standard health insurance policy cover cancer, but only part of the treatment cost. They don't cover all the treatment cost. Definitely we should do such kind of reform in that insurance sector, so that almost all the cost of the cancer treatment should be covered. As a consequence, what happens that either out of pocket expenditure goes up or a patient drop out of the treatment. So this is not a well measures that if patient drop out of the treatment and left itself to die because of the cancers. So if you look at the how the better resource allocation can impact your health sector, so you can take the example of the All India Institute of Delhi, All India Institute of Medical Science Delhi, AIMS, which is the premier health institution of India and with a brand value because of the resource allocation over a decade. Definitely this is a good example that if you provide a good resources to any kind of institution, then definitely they are going to function in a better way. Some steps according to the Niti Aayog, it proposed that higher tax on tobacco, alcohol and on unhealthy food in order to revamp the public and preventive health system. So it has suggested these measures and with better resource allocation as in the case of so we must also provide the better allocation of resources in also states as well as district programs also. So here in the conclusion it has been said that increase of a GDP alone does not guarantee health, since there is no direct correlation between GDP and health outcome. However, improvement in the health does relate positively to the GDP, because if we have a good health, definitely the healthy workforce will contribute to the productivity, and this productivity will ultimately increase our gross domestic product. So for various disease allocations should be realigned, like we have a different alignments for different diseases. So this should be realigned and disease management should be given much more adequate attention, because we are mostly dependent on the episode of cares, not on the minimizing or a disease management system. Further, the health sector must be made a priority area like defense. So definitely we should have a better allocation and budgetary allocation for the defense sector also. And if we invest more in the long term health, nation will be there in a similar rise in the GDP. Definitely if you invest more in the health sector, definitely as you can take with the example of US, so in the same way you can have a better GDP also. Next article you can relate with paper 2, about the pension for informal sector. Actually government has announced a Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandhan Yojana, a scheme for the informal worker. Under this scheme, subscriber will be receive a assured monthly pension of 3,000 per month from the age of 60 onwards. So in this article the issue of this scheme has been highlighted, as government in the budget claimed that it is going to benefit 42 crore of workers in the organized sector, but here the income slab is 15,000 per month. So looking at this income, only 10 crore people were going to benefit from this. If you look that the allocation of the Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandhan could possibly come at the expense of existing pension scheme like National Social Assistance Program announced last year to benefit more than 3 crore poor and senior citizens, disabled people and widows. So this program is going to take place and there will be a budgetary cut from this scheme. Like National Social Assistance Program, here budgetary allocation last year was 9,975 crore, but this year it is 9,200 only. So definitely this is going to impact and there is a budgetary cut from this scheme. Even there it has been also highlighted that the social sector and informal sector will not be able to contribute, because this 100 or 55 rupees per day, because their salary is quite low and they are not going to pay on a regular basis also. Further, for a salaried worker it is easy to pay, but for a daily wage earner it is quite impossible. Even the government is silent on what happened to the scheme if the informal sector worker missed the contribution. Definitely government has not provided any proposal for this if someone missed the contribution. Does the worker become disqualified from the scheme? If so, what happened to the amount already contributed to him? Will the government refund the worker that amount, or will that amount be fortified? So definitely these all are the challenges that government should try to. Another matter to be considered is that what happened to a worker whose transition from the informal to formal workforce. So these are need to be addressed by the government. Next, you can relate with paper 2 at the cost of the quality. Here background is that government has announced to provide financial rewards for publication in science journal and patent. So Ministry of Science and Technology increased the fellowship stipend for PhD student by 25%. So here the cause of the concern is that giving reward based on the paper published in journal and determining the incentive based on whether the paper is published in the international or Indian journal is a biggest problem, and it will create a lot of more problem. If you take the example of China did the same, and it's also led to a fraud and led to a unethical practice in the research as well as a fraud committed by the Chinese researchers. This could happen in India, so because as we know that we don't have any nodal body to address the scientific fraud and unethical practices. So definitely here it has been avoided that 50,000 and 20,000 has been announced for a paper published in international as well as Indian journal respectively. 50,000 will be for international journal and 20,000 will be for. So it is worth remembering that University Grant Commission's intent to introduce academic performance indicator was good. Its intent was good that academic performance indicator, but academic performance indicator was largely responsible for the spike of predatory journals published in India from the India. So there is a little guarantee that reward from based on the publication will not lead to further erosion in the quality of science research in India. In addition, if you look at providing a more reward to the publication of Indian journal make no sense, because in the international journals are not uniformly superior in quality to the Indian one. Some Indian journals are better than international journals one. So by giving 60% lower stipend to the student publishing in Indian journal, government is unwittingly be widening the gap between the Indian and international journal, which is self-destructive in long run. So problem with the Indian science. Actually, Indian science suffers from a deep-rooted and structural problem like fellowship got delayed and project funding is not released on time. So the government should reward good research and generous funding and fewer constraints. With hundreds of papers being published each year, it is debatable whether the government will be provide incentive, given that the research lab has reportedly been facing the fund crunch in the late. So definitely, if we have a fund crunch in that area, how government could provide this incentive to all? Apart from that, reward for the patent has also been proposed, but it will be also create a problem, because here government is going to provide 1 lakh rupees for obtaining a patent from Indian or international. So definitely it will be create a biggest disaster, because while obtaining a patent is not difficult. It costs 10,000 to 30,000 to file a patent in India, and drafting cost is around 50,000, and with an annual fee. Also, not all patents translate into the product. If you look at the Council of Science and Industrial Research (CSIR), in 2016, CSIR has instructed its 38 lab to stop the indiscriminate filing of Indian and foreign patent, because majority of the patent are biodata and has been filed with the sake of filing without any technological or commercial and legal evaluation. So in such scenario, financial incentive for patent filing will only exacerbate the problem. So definitely government should try to look with the CSIR issue and not to incentivize them. Okay, thank you very much.